This is India's #1 news network, and you're watching News 9, English news as it should be.
Tonight, we begin with the disaster that has left Nepal devastated. A wall of water, mud and boulders tearing through entire communities within a span of minutes. But beyond the devastation lies a bigger warning. A warming Himalayas, rapidly changing glaciers, and the growing danger of glacial lake floods and their outbursts. We then turn to West Bengal, where 60 children have died at Malda Medical College in just 3 weeks, including 10 newborns in a single day. Now, Malda Hospital maintains that many of them did not take their birth in the hospital premises. But the questions that we do need to ask and understand is what went wrong and what is the investigation now looking for. And finally, as we wrap up this segment of In Your Interest, we're going to look at a development that could change the fight against one of the deadliest cancers. A new drug targeting the RAS mutation has opened a new front against pancreatic cancer. What does this breakthrough really mean for the patients out there? Well, those are the stories we put in your interest tonight. But first, the top headlines. The Ministry of External Affairs says over 350 Indian nationals are stranded in Nepal. They remain untraceable. 21 Indian nationals, meanwhile, have been rescued, adding that around 200 Indians have sought assistance in Tibet. Why we're tracking details and developments from Nepal closely is because over 350 people have been killed after Himalayan glacier collapse triggered catastrophic floods along the Nepal-Tibet border. India sends the second flight carrying 37.5 tons of HADR material, medicines and food packets for Nepal. Collectively, almost 50 tons of assistance from India to Kathmandu. The External Affairs Minister, Dr. S. Jaishankar, held a review meeting with Foreign Secretary, the MEO officials and Indian ambassadors in Kathmandu and Beijing over the Nepal disaster. Imagine a wall of water, mud, ice and boulders racing down a Himalayan valley with virtually no warning at all. That is exactly what happened along the Nepal-Tibet border. In the space of mere minutes, an ice rock avalanche triggered a catastrophic surge through the Lende Khola, feeding into the Bhotekoshi and Trishuli river systems. The Trishuli river reportedly rose by as much as 9 meters in just a span of 25 odd minutes. Entire stretches of the river corridor were transformed into debris fields with slug and boulders coming down at catastrophic speeds. Homes were buried, vehicles were swept away, roads and bridges disappeared, hydropower infrastructure completely left damaged, entire communities cut off now. And the human toll is still rising. More than 350 people are now reported dead across Nepal and Tibet, with more than 1,000 people still missing or unaccounted for. And among those missing are foreign tourists, are pilgrims, including Indian traveling towards the Kailash Mansarovar region. The rescue operation is now, needless to say, a race against time. Nepal's army, the police, and the emergency teams have been using helicopters, drones, the search dogs, the ground teams to reach the survivors. But with roads and bridges now washed away, key lines cut off, electricity disrupted, entire stretches of the terrain buried under mud and debris, reaching the worst hit areas is itself a huge, huge challenge now. But here is where the story gets bigger than just one devastating flood, because there is an unfair climate burden on a country. This disaster unfolded in a Himalaya that is changing rapidly. And why I say this is in your interest is because the Himalayan mountain ecosystem is what connects us all in this region. Satellite imagery indicates that a substantial section of a glacier broke away at around 50 to 100 meters, plunging roughly 1,200 meters and gathering rock and sediment as it came down, that too at devastating speed. And scientists are now asking a crucial question. Is this simply an extreme geological event, or is it a warning from the warning Himalayas? The answer needs some nuance as well. Scientists have not established that climate change directly caused this particular glacier collapse, but it has its own major role to play. And there is overwhelming evidence that the Himalayan cryosphere is changing because of global warming. The Hindu Kush Himalaya glaciers lost ice 65% faster between 2011 and 2020 in the 2010s decade than in the previous decade. And in a 2026 ICI MOD assessment says the rate of ice loss across the entire region, which again is significant and crucial to India, has continued to accelerate, with ice loss rates now roughly doubling since what we recorded back in 2000. Nepal has already lost close to 1/3 of its ice in just over 3 decades. And when glaciers retreat, they don't simply disappear. Their meltwater, it goes somewhere. It can accumulate behind natural walls that act like dams. These dams are made up of ice, of rock, of debris, creating huge glacial lakes. So from glacier, the meltwater stuck between and behind these natural dams called glacial lakes. And as these lakes continue to expand, they can become increasingly unstable. Global warming is not helping in any case. And an avalanche, a landslide, extreme rainfall, or a failure of this natural dam made up of rocks and icy particles can suddenly release millions of cubic meters of water that comes gushing down. That is a glacial lake outburst flood, a GLOF, a GLOF, a new trend word these days. And when that water combines with the rock, the mud, the boulders that comes with it, it becomes a fast-moving wall of destruction that pretty much takes in everything in its wake. Nepal has more than 2,000 glacial lakes. Out of these 2,000, at least 21 have now been identified as potentially dangerous. Even after this catastrophe, there is a little lake system that has been formed up there, which could break into another one of those flash floods in the coming days. Authorities and the Disaster Management and Reduction Authority is already looking into this. And this is where the phrase unfair climate burden comes in. That's going to be our peg on tonight's show as well. Nepal contributes only around 0.01% of the global greenhouse gas emissions, yet it is on the front line of a climate crisis it did little to create, and which is where the unfair climate burden comes in. The country's mountains are warming, its glaciers are shrinking, its lakes are changing, and communities living directly below these mountains carry the immediate risk. But this isn't only a Nepal problem. The Himalayan rivers, they connect all of us. Remember me telling you that. The Bhote Koshi is part of a wider Kosi river system, which ultimately enters the state of Bihar. Uttar Pradesh is also on alert. And India itself is now confronting a rapidly growing glacial lake threat. In Himachal Pradesh alone, a recent study found the number of mapped glacial lakes rose from 107 in 1990 to 669 in 2024. It is a 525% increase in these glacial lake formations, which could lead to a GLOF situation. So the question after Nepal is not simply what happened. Of course, it's devastating. Our hearts and prayers go out to all those families that have lost their loved ones. It is a race against time. But the bigger question is, how prepared are we for what happens next, and what are we doing about it? Because in the Himalayas, the warning may come from a glacier, a lake, a landslide, or sometimes perhaps with no warning at all. And that is why what happened in Nepal is very much in India's interest as well. Let's put all of those questions with Meg Ale, environmental activist, with us on the broadcast. Mr. Anil Sood, environmentalist, also with us on the broadcast. Dr. Sushil Kumar Rohela, a climate expert, is with us on the broadcast as well. Meg, I'm going to start with you. Many thanks for taking out the time. I understand you've been speaking to a lot of international challenges as well. Let's begin with the central question that we have over here. Can we connect what we saw on Wednesday, this particular glacier collapse, to climate change, or would that be scientifically premature at this particular stage? Let's get the snowball rolling here, no pun intended.
Right. Namaste, hello, everybody.
Yep.
So,
hello. Yes, this is certainly we can.
I asked that question to Meg. I asked that question to Meg. Let them answer, sir, and then I'll come back to you.
Yeah, looking at the disaster, what's happening,
yeah,
you could see in last 10 to 15 years. So I think we should learn, we must learn by now how the climate change, the global warming is behaving. But I think when I look at this, the governments, our governments, Indian governments, maybe not listening enough. So we need to change the pattern of our development, so-called, bringing the prosperity with the hydro energy and all of those. So because all those Himalayan rivers are from the glacial lakes.
Yeah.
So from the Himalayas, and so you could see what's happening with the climate crisis, the global warming disasters. I think we must understand how we need to change. So we need to change our development pattern. So make sure our rivers are looked after. When you look at those Hindu Kush Himalayas,
yeah,
they are the lifeline of over 1.6 billion population by now. Okay, those are the lifeline. If we don't take care of the lifeline of 1.6 billion population, so what are we doing?
Yeah.
So especially in the governments, from Abu Dhabi to Myanmar, if you look at all those rivers, from Afghanistan, Bhutan to all of it, right? So India, Nepal, so how it's all affecting. Or Mekong in China, Brahmaputra, what's happening? I think so. We need to really wake up. It's a big wake-up call. If we
Certainly.
Still don't realize more disaster yet to happen.
Absolutely. Mr. Sood and, Dr. Kumar, I'm going to come to you in just a quick bit. Meg, could you help the viewers understand if you're joining us from Nepal at this point in time?
Yeah, I'm in Kathmandu, so yes,
I've been speaking to a lot of my friends, some of my relatives also in Nepal. Kathmandu is a little close to the, to this entire river system that saw the flash floods. I've been speaking to some people in Biratnagar as well. That's a little far away, but they still feel that Nepal is paying the price for a climate burden that it did not create at all. It's a climate crisis that's been created by the two largest emitters on both sides. Nepal happens to be sandwiched between them, and Nepal is paying the price for that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because in terms of, what Nepal has, what we have, so pretty much, 1/3 of the country is, covered with the forest, for example. So, so then we have we've been working on, all this forest. So Nepal, we don't have big industries where we really, spoil the atmosphere or climate.
Yeah.
I think, this is what's happening is something. So we did not create. So this is created by the other developed countries. I don't say it's only India and China, but I would say all those developed countries, what they have done to the nature. So I think because of that, we're suffering, which we are not responsible of.
Okay, all right. Meg, do stay on with us. We have some more, questions that we do need to understand. That to put, context in real time. Mr. Sood, let me bring you in this discussion. A warming Himalayas, like I mentioned in my, prologue as well, it connects us all. But a warming Himalayan mountain ecosystem, what does that do to the glacial lakes, the glaciers, the permafrost, the cryosphere? All those studies, they're pointing to one thing, that the stability of the mountain slopes is actually critical, and that increases the possibility of sudden disasters. We're all sitting ducks in this kind of a situation. And just like Meg pointed out, it's a big wake-up call. But do you think anything's going to happen? Maybe 24, 48 hours after this, people will stop talking about this.
Kabir, we got so many wake-up calls. We got first wake-up call in Kedarnath 2013. We got wake-up call in Dharali, almost similar, not of that magnitude.
Absolutely.
We got wake-up call in Kishtwar, Doda. We got wake-up call in Joshimath. But still, our governments continue to be comatose. Nepal is paying very heavy price of development ongoing in China. China has constructed airports, railway lines, military bases, roads, tunnels, and mining also. If you see the flash flood very closely, you find boulders, mud, slush, and rocks. What does it indicate? It indicates that this lower part of Himalayas is considerably young. It's made of rubble. And when glacial lakes burst or water or flash flood occurs, the water comes down with such a velocity at such a high speed, it brings down entire rubble, malba along with it. And whatever comes in the way is just demolished. You have seen the 5-story building disappearing within no time. So we as group of nations, not only, I don't say that India or China, India, China, Nepal, Bangladesh, Pakistan, all need to sit together and think through that how to stop this massive devastation and massive infra projects, so that the sanctity of Himalayas is maintained, the risk factors are reduced. Otherwise, if the way things are going on in isolation, everybody is claiming to, for the defense purposes, they need to develop this area. I was asking myself a question. In recent Iran and America war, we have not seen artillery moving. We have not seen Air Force moving. We have seen drones flying, missiles flying. Then where is the question of developing this area for defense purpose? We have also added, as India, we have also added to the burden by
100%.
developing Char Dham Road, ill-conceived idea. We are also constructing. Why? Why can't we, as nations, sit together, discuss, and protect the area instead of damaging further? The performance that you spoke about is that it's nothing but solid waste rubble made solid by snow. Now that they consider as foundation. With the climate change and heat, rise in temperature, the snow starts melting. So basement is gone, foundation is gone. The moment foundation is gone, everything comes down. So
and the sad part in all of this, Mr. Sood, is the fact that we're now thinking and talking about this because hey, look, it might come and affect us. We're already talking about UP and Bihar that are on alert. Otherwise, nobody would have even batted an eyelid. And that's the sorry state of affairs. You're absolutely right. I think all these regional governments need to come together. We need to have our own Southeast Asian COP. Why wait for a global platform? We can do it ourselves. Mr. Sushil Kumar, let me bring you in to this conversation as well. We keep hearing about glacial lakes, about these outburst floods. How exactly does a warming glacier eventually become a flood that threats hundreds of kilometers downstream? And when we talk about a warming Himalayan ecosystem, what is the human intervention here doing? We now have roads, hydropower projects, constructions. We're changing land use, some of those examples that Mr. Sood just gave us. Is it well and way beyond reform? Is it way beyond, reversing what we've done to Mother Nature now?
Takviji, Arilji Sudhir has said this just now. Because you have to understand what happens recently. The Rishiganga in Joshiman, the event was similar like that. The avalanche happened and rock came with the avalanche. And the slope was very high. And that's why they took the dam also and the speed and so many villages. The similar happened in Kedarnath. So we know that in Himalaya. And like my institute, Varya Institute, I'm basically an ex-seismologist from Varya Institute. So they have identified there are more than 10,000 lakes in total Himalaya. And once we had studied also, if any earthquake, big earthquake happen in Himalaya, so there will be a flood in the Himalaya itself. But this situation, and they have identified vulnerable lakes also. Now, the question is, we have to see that those villages are in those catchment in that village. So we should have the very strong real-time early warning system. We should have a very strong alarm system. And still, the villages, those are near the river. What happened here? It happened like from 5,200 meter height, a glacier, basically avalanche happened, and there was a river, Lingde, between China and Nepal, and that got blocked. And then it got breaked, and the signals, seismic signals recorded of that break and avalanche of that there. And then the speed was more than 140.
Yeah.
So that's why it happens. Nobody can stop that. The question is, we have to think that the villages near the these catchment is how to basically allocate those villages and put them at the safe place. And second, in our planning, we can understand the old our bridges and the new planning of the bridges, hydropower plants. So these should be basically, if they are under risk, so we have to take care of those. And future also, if they are in catchment of the such glacier, so to stop this outburst, lake outburst, we basically should think about this.
Absolutely. You're absolutely right. You've hit the nail on the head. You see, when you stop smoking, about 24 hours, you stop smoking, the lungs start healing themselves on their own. The entire planet is a big biological being as well. I think it's high time that we should put a hard stop as to, interfering into the Himalayas, interfering into, look at the Andes, look at the Rocky Mountains, look at the Swiss Alps, look at how beautifully it's maintained, look at what kind of, love that is meted out to that entire mountain system as well. Meg, again, before I move on, give us a sense of what's happening. What are you picking up from your own sources? I know it's quite devastating, and with each passing minute and hour, we're getting a fresher picture as to how far and long the devastation actually is. Entire communities completely eaten up, if not swept away, and normal life completely thrown out of gear. I mean, there are prime bridges and arterial bridges that have been washed away, which is why you're now absolutely cut off. The communities are cut off from their essentials. And when daily essentials go away, that's another line of threat. One thing is that the entire flood has eaten into the community. The other is that now no relief material can get there. India has sent about 50 tons of relief material, but what good is that material if it can't reach to the actual areas where it is intended to reach? What is the ground development right now? Do you think that this unfortunate death toll is going to go up as well?
Yeah, the death toll will rise. So there's a lot of search and rescue carrying on. and so the relief is getting there. Actually, the highway, it's not well. The highway towards to Tibet, China, that's cut off, in the Rashwa area. But in Nuwakot district, it's reachable. Nuwakot district and Dading and Chitwan is reachable. So that Prithvi highway is still open, right? And there's a lot of debris that needs to be cleaned. But the Nepal army, all the government officials, even the prime minister himself, he's been to those places
Yeah.
to help support, and the entire nation is getting along together. All the political parties, they are coming along together
Okay.
to face this disaster. How we could encounter, how we could normalize things here. So, and obviously, all those help from different countries are coming along, as you said, from India as well, and our Prime Minister Balendra Saha, and also the Prime Minister of India, Mr. Modi. They've been talking, having a conversation.
Yeah.
I think the way it's going, carrying on, it's bringing the nation together at the same
Absolutely.
time. So to encounter this sort of situation.
I understand.
So I think we're quite,
that is a
quite
silver
positive.
lining.
Yeah.
Moments like these, they really test a nation, and the country really has to come together, be it a moment of war, and this is no less than actually a war when the entire nation actually has to come together. Nepal has, friends beyond its borders. That is also nothing new. And of course, I can vouch for, India. We will continue to support Nepal. But, when it comes to the preparedness angle, and there is a little bit of a political tussle between Nepal and China as to the kind of information that was being shared from those, crucial, checkpoints. Do you think this is going to lead to lesser implementation or a weaker enforcement of those already memorandums of understanding that are in place? Do you think that there is one party that is at fault over here? Because China says that, it's not because of us. There was a seismic activity which led to the glacial, lake outburst flood. What's your reading into the politics that's taking place, and who's really at fault? If I could ask you that question without, putting pressure on you or cornering you, putting you in a spot, you may please feel free to answer as you like.
So, yeah, I mean, there's no political issues between Nepal and China, So even the president of China, he really came up front and saying whatever they can do to help. Also in China, there's a lot of damage has taken place in China as well. So they really, I mean, I think both of the nation, they really would like to help Nepal in this situation. So that's what in our media, in our national media, have been showing. So how China is also eager to help in this situation. There's no political difference like that. We have this open. I mean, we have the border, which is open for tourism, and where we have many Indian pilgrims also going to Kailash. So that's very unfortunate. Most likely 105 Indian pilgrimages. So they actually caught up in this flood, in this disaster.
Yeah.
So that's very unfortunate.
It is.
But I think also the nations, they're trying to understand. In my read, even India and China and Nepal, these countries now finally maybe understanding the situation of climate change and global warming, what's happening with our glaciers and what's happening with our Himalayan rivers.
Let's hope that people are actually, picking up from all the signs that Mother Earth is giving, all the symbols and warning signs that because before finally the mountain ecosystem starts screaming, these are small signs and symbols that people now really need to pick up on. Mr. Sood, of course, very unfortunate images and pictures, and it's devastating what we're witnessing that happened into the Trishuli river system and what happened, in the Bhote Kosi. People running for their lives. Some of those videos, you really can't even look for more than a mere seconds. Away from all of this, take us into the mountains for a second. What physically happens when a large section of a glacier breaks away, comes down, crashing a Himalayan valley. Help us understand that for a second.
See, from the height, when glacial lake outburst is there, it's holding huge volume of water. And when it breaks, the boundary or the so-called artificial dam, when it breaks, water gushes out with the force. With that force, whatever comes in the way, whatever is there in the way, it will not withstand the pressure. And the way you have seen that 5-story building being washed off like pack of cards within few seconds, nothing can stop it. Downstream, the maximum damage will be downstream, because in over hills or in mountains, there is a habitation is very less. If you see Nepal, along with the river bed, huge constructions have come up, and those constructions also have been washed away. So river bed sanctity has to be maintained, hill sanctity has to be maintained, because when you start digging, you start rather butchering the mountains, Mother Nature is going to hit back very hard. And once Mother Nature hits back very hard, nothing can stop. So that is what in case of this glacial lake happens. You know, more than about 7,000 lakes, only 100 glacial lakes are being monitored by Central Groundwater Authority. Now, what happens to others? Because any scientists cannot predict earthquake. Scientists cannot predict glacial lake outburst. Scientists cannot predict this cloud burst, because till today scientists have been struggling. So where science has not succeeded till today, what is to be done? Mother Nature is to be left at its own. Don't interfere with the Mother Nature. Don't kill Mother Nature. Don't kill mountains. Don't deforest. Leave the mountains sacred as these are.
Mr. Sood, do you remember the COVID pandemic time, when the birds returned, when the vegetation came back to life, when the Yamuna in the national capital started breathing again, just because it was left untouched for a mere 3-4 months? That's the beauty, which is why I say that the entire planet is a biological being.
See, I'll just share with you, COVID proved my 3 studies. Ganga got cleaned on its own because all polluting industry was closed. Yamuna was cleaned because all polluting industries was closed and all corrupt politicians or bureaucrats were sitting at home. Skies was clean. Why skies were clean? Because there was no aviation. Although vehicular traffic was almost 15 to 20% of what it was, but there was no aviation. So once there was no aviation, there is no PM 2.5, there is no PM 10, there is no carbon monoxide, there is no carbon dioxide.
If the governments are serious about this, Mr. Sood, then I think this is what actually needs to happen. We need to leave the mountain ecosystem to its own, to heal. That's the word. Let the mountains heal themselves, and they can. Just stop interfering. That is what we need to do, but it's easier said than done. Mr. Sushil, Dr. Kumar, before I come to you, a quick follow-up, that I want to take from Meg. Meg, I was recently in Dhulikhel, because all the other panelists are also talking about the constant construction. Because I understand that Nepal thinks and says that it contributes 0.01% of carbon emissions. But I was recently in Dhulikhel, not taking away from the fact that it's a scenic hilltop municipality, not very far away from Kathmandu as well. But on the Araniko highway, a lot of construction that's taking place. Too much construction. The bus speeds gone down to about 20 to 30 kilometers per hour. And a lot of tourism that comes to Nepal. Nepal thrives on tourism, which is why, of course, it's needless to say, they're coming up with hotels and resorts, and they're absolutely beautiful. But there is a price that Nepal will pay for all the construction and the urban settlements that are coming to the hills as well. Don't you think so?
You're absolutely right. So what's happening is, the tourism Even the domestic tourism is quite booming around that area nearby
Yeah.
Kathmandu. You could see Kathmandu has a population 5.5 million population, probably even more now.
I think we have
by
social
now.
media to blame for all of this as well,
So,
equally.
so there's Kathmandu people need to get out as well as the international airport, in Kathmandu.
Yeah.
So nearby Kathmandu, so I think more and more tourism is happening, and that's why there's a lot of pressure on our mountains, on our hills. There's a lot of construction carrying on. You're absolutely right. But one thing here I would like to mention, so when we talk about what's happening in our countries, what's happening with the government, I think government really hasn't realized. For example, Nepal has got 6,000 rivers and rivulets. So if we talk about entire capacity with the modern technology, they talk about over 150,000 megawatt or even 200,000 megawatt, right?
Yeah.
So if we exploit all of it, but the all those investment coming in, so all those business houses they're trying to invest, so it's not for the uses of Nepal. So this is what they're dreaming is about hydro dollars. So what they're dreaming is how they can sell more energy to India, more energy to Bangladesh, right?
Yeah.
So if there's energy demand, obviously all those Himalayan rivers are going to be destroyed, right? So this is the problem. And if you look at, Nepal's river, so 70% of the Ganges water going from Nepal. So if you're talking about river health of, our country, if we damage each and every rivers, that's going to affect the Ganges as well.
Yes.
Because the 70% of the water going from our country. So I think if we talk about how we could maintain this, we all have to take the responsibility. So since there's a 70% of the water from going from Nepal to India, from our rivers.
Absolutely.
So, also India has a responsibility how we could take care of this river health. So it's not damaging the Ganga.
Yeah.
It's not damaging the Ganga's health.
It's a
So I
very
think we need
selfish
to be-
responsibility. I'll give it to you. I mean, if we want the Ganges
Yeah.
to work out for ourselves, we must ensure that, China and Nepal, the entire Himalayan water and river system, for our own benefit, our own selfish sake, we must
Yeah.
push the other countries and the other governments to come on a same, page, come on the same, table and really
Yeah.
discuss these. I think that's the most operative part that's come out from this discussion is that we need to have our own Southeast Asian version of a COP, of a climate, planning charter and programming.
So what I
Yeah.
wanted to mention here is, if we are serious about, those Himalayan rivers, the lifeline of over 1.6 billion population, then we need to act on it. How it can be acted, we need to discuss that. Maybe there should be, for Nepal being a very neutral country, so maybe the Trans-Himalayan rivers headquarters need to be made, and those research to be done. Maybe Nepal can be, we have a SARC headquarters Nepal. Why not Himalayan rivers headquarters?
Absolutely. That's a great
Nepal.
shout. That's a great
so
shout.
that way, so all those, the Himalayas, majority of Himalayas are in Nepal, and so the most affected country is Nepal. And why not all these countries? So from trans-Himalayan rivers, so from Afghanistan to Myanmar, you can talk about Mekong to, all those Abu Dharia to, so all this. If you're talking about Mekong, then you're talking about China, Vietnam, Cambodia, Laos, even Thailand. So all those they're affected. They will be affected with this climate change and global warming, especially with the
100%.
Himalayan rivers. So I think this is time to act. So I think we do talk quite a lot, but at the end, I think our government, we have to make them listen. So I think that's
We now
the
need
way
action. We
forward.
now need action. You're absolutely
Yeah.
right. We love,
Really
sharing MOUs. We love making, small statements into big megalomaniac discussions where people are flying in from one end of the nation to the other, spreading more carbon emission than the words that they're going to speak at that summit. But we don't actually do much about it. Dr. Sushil Kumar, many thanks for patiently waiting. I'm going to give you the final say here. Nepal has more than 2,000 glacial lakes. and India is seeing a dramatic rise in those glacial lakes as well. How worried should communities downstream actually be? Because we've discussed what the governments can do. We've discussed the devastating wake that these flash floods have left. We've also understood what's really happening in Kathmandu. Again, hearts and prayers to all those that have lost their loved ones. Let's hope that good sense prevails in the coming days again. The entire country is united. The entire region is united. But how worried should communities downstream be, at least given what's happening with UP and Bihar on high alert and Himachal Pradesh's glacial lakes?
Lakshmi, we should be careful about what happened in Rishiganga in Joshimath. Similarly, like this avalanche and then lake outburst. Similarly happened here also. And we should be worried about those old dams near at the places. Those are vulnerable. The risk should be assessed, and they should be the government should be careful about that. And second thing, all along the villages in such catchment, because so many institutions, Vadi Institute and other institutions, they have identified the vulnerable lakes, and the villages, those are coming in that catchment and are under risk. So they should be worried about that, and they should do something for those. And third is the new dams, hydropower plants, and new roads, etc. The risk should be assessed properly, and modern techniques, because nowadays so many people are going because of the modern technology. So many ways are there to go to the Himalayas. So we should be careful about that. We should use the modern technology. We should use the satellite data, drone data, early warning system,
artificial intelligence. We're using AI for everything else, but when it comes to climate change, we're not really using that, because that accounts for too much data. Who's going to do all of that data crunching?
Then the things will be very strong in our hand, and people will save the people.
Great point, great point. You see, Nepal is counting its dead, and even as Nepal does so many foreign travelers in that particular list, searching for the missing, the unaccounted for, rebuilding what the floods have already destroyed, and in a couple of more hours, we'll truly understand what devastation really looks like in this case. But this disaster has also raised a larger question. How much more can communities pay for a climate crisis that they're doing so little to create? And that is so unfair on these communities. For Nepal, and not just Nepal, the entire region, for India as well. The Himalayan mountain ecosystem is not just melting, they are becoming increasingly unpredictable and increasingly dangerous. It's high time we pull our socks. It's a wake-up call. Many thanks to all my guests, Meg, Dr. Sood, Dr. Sushil Kumar, Sushil Rohela. Many thanks for taking out the time and speaking to us here on News 9 and putting all of these aspects into perspective. We're going to slip into a quick commercial breather here, but don't go anywhere, ladies and gentlemen. On the other side, we've got a very interesting and intriguing story. 60 newborns that died within a span of 3 weeks in a West Bengal hospital. We've got a very credible voice. Padma Shri Dr. Sanjeev Bagai is with us on the other side. Don't go anywhere.
कुछ भी खा नहीं पा रहा हूँ, बहुत अपसेट हूँ।
Take a date, not bites.
नो एडेड शुगर, प्रिजर्वेटिव के बिना डेट्स, बादाम, पिस्ता, काजू और शहद से तैयार किया गया लायन डेट्स नट बाइट्स।
Lion date, not bites.
A single street in Belfast, a sudden act of violence, and within hours, a city was pulled into chaos. What began as a stabbing has now ignited nights of unrest across Northern Ireland. Fresh unrest has erupted in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir with large-scale protests. As the guns fall silent in the Iran war, Donald Trump has opened a new diplomatic front in the West Asia. Not with missiles, not with sanctions, but with a bold demand.